Music people, I am back for part two. Sorry it took so long. We got super busy. We just wrapped up both the versions. We're about to mix these down this weekend and hopefully call this one a wrap. So I had a little album thing I had to do in between and at least had some stuff as well. So we are pulling it back together as usual. I promised you I'd show you these harmonics on the bass lines. What's interesting about this version, we had to go back and redo the intro because we weren't happy with it and it didn't flow. So we just came up with a new one, and it's interesting that we are right on the topic of harmonics with bass lines and whatnot. This one I actually did a pad on top of the two bass lines, so it kind of really, you have that third, you have a low layer, mid layer, and then top layer. The low layer, obviously, I have a couple that I was using for this specific track for Rock the Bells. I'll solo this one, and you can take a listen to this one. This is the main, basically the main static line. Let's see how loud that is. So that does have a harmonic on it. That is from the Sub 37, or Moog 37. But you hear it's got a little bit of a tone on it. I kind of filtered a little bit out because I just wanted the low end. So that's would be considered your low harmonic. There's many ways you can tune up or down from this, but there's another bass line that follows on top of that as the track is progressing. Let's see if I can find that here. That should be right in here on the main bass. So here's actually layer 2. I'll solo that. So it hits a lot harder on the top end. You can hear a little bit of crunch. And it's actually one of my favorite ones. It sounds good. So we're going to drop those two together like they are on the track. Solo those. Low and mid. Beautiful. Sounds beautiful. Great. And if you notice, they're kind of offset. That's kind of always my thing. Elise hates it, but it always kind of gives that track a little bit of shuffle in there. So with this one, we were trying to come up with a great way to lead into the bass line, and that was the difficult part because we didn't have a lot going on. I've heard the dub's different, but this one's, we're not trying to say radio, but it needs, it needs a format for the DJ as well as verse, chorus, break out and then chorus. So I came up with a really cool line, and I added what I would guess would be at this point, because I have all these, this is my 4th harmonic, but it's just following the same keys as the bass line. Here, I'll just show you the line I played. It was very simple. Very simple. I think I opened it up like that though. Yeah, like that. So that is what I would call a high mid layer at this point. But when that comes in and these layers on top of each other, there's just the oscillator on the new one is a little bit slower if you listen. Right? So the Moog one is right in between that. And as soon as those harmonics start doing that and they really start spinning out, that feeling you get, you just can't get that anywhere else. That is a design structure thing. I usually try and plan harmonically. It doesn't always turn out perfect, but I mean, I have the idea of how I want to construct it. So I have these, again, there's low, mid, high, and then I have an alternate third that's actually a pad instead of a bass line. But this is a static bass line, so this works perfectly because this can even act as a bass line. So it's right. So it's the same thing. It's just two key. And it goes beautifully. It's just, you got to watch the LFO with the oscillator and just make sure that it's doing a cycle and not just doing random stuff, because that won't give you that feeling of harmonics, that they're and on Prisoners we did a 4-layer off the Nord, and the oscillators just got so insane that there was just this feeling in this moment right before the first vocals came in, and I highly doubt we'll ever duplicate that one again. I mean, that was definitely a special moment when they all just came in and opened up. That's rare, but I mean, you just get a keyboard and experiment with it. I mean, I think once you get out of the box and you get into a real keyboard, I mean, you don't need a lot of stuff. I don't use a lot of plugins anymore. Really, in this track, that entire track you heard, I used the Moog this and I think one other line from over there. But once you know a keyboard very well, I do what's called program day. I basically walk in studio and I'll design 10, 15 patches on the Nord, 10, 15 on the Moog, whatever I have in the room. And I've been doing that for years. So your arsenal of sounds is immense. So when it comes time to compose, you're not sitting there trying to construct sounds. That'll totally ruin your vibe. So, I mean, you need to write your own sounds anyway. That was the whole point of the intro of this one. But now you get it. So just think harmonically and think like you can't just replace these later. You really want to build your track around those. And that, my friends, is what makes it special. All right, so I wanted to just go ahead and real quick just at least show you the whole line together, since you kind of were with me for a good hour to see how this was done. So let's just lay them in real quick one by one. So we're gonna go, here is our main. That is not our main. This is our main breakout bass. Here we go. So there's our static, that would be one layer. And here is our top harmonic off the sub 37. Okay, nice, very nice. Let's do it again. Now with the breakout bass, I actually have the high mid coming in before that actually breaks out, and then they all come together. So with the breakout bass, it's just like this, right? And then the pad section that I was telling you about that I had written off the Nord, check this out. Go ahead and solo that too. You get an idea of how that feels, hopefully, through this little crappy mic. But here we go. Here's the top harmonic with that section. Here we go. That's just the pad, and that's kind of how it's ramping up into its arrangement. I'll turn it up a little bit. Nothing yet. So I decel, you hear it's still building the drums. So yeah, here we go. Here comes that second harmonic. Beautiful. Here we go. Beautiful. See, I already made my hair stand. It's just got that feeling, And then there's the beautiful, almost like an 80s line. Really beautiful. I don't have the section together, so I'm going to layer in the third bass just with it real quick so you can hear it. But once all these three come together, and then I have a fourth, this is the secret one. I'm not going to show you that yet. So here's the three harmonics right here. Beautiful, man. So, I mean, again, hopefully you learn something from this, and just learn that, keep it simple, guys. People, I see so many people just throwing thousands of plugins and this and that. It's just killing your vibe, man. If you just learn one keyboard, I know a friend who had one keyboard and one set of speakers, man, and he wrote a lot of records back in the 90s, and they were good too, you know what I mean? Because he knew that keyboard in and out. He knew what it was capable of doing. Obviously, all these tools are great, to have plugins and whatnot, but this is tactile and real, and there's nothing like doing the real recording process of tracking it in, and I mean, that's what recording is. If you're sitting there with automation points all day, you're just trapped in this digital nowhere zone, and nothing's real, nothing feels real, nothing's moving. Your whole mix is like automated, like a robot, you know what I mean? I mean, we'll get to that section later when it comes to mixing, but if you've not ever mixed on a real console, you've never actually really mixed, because mixing in here is not mixing. The only way to do that is if you print all the stems and then do what we call a pull up, pull down mix, and everything's done, the EQ, compression, whatever you needed, and it's just the stems, and you actually pull up the mix and you get a different mix, and then you print it. That's how we did it back in the tape days. But that's where the magic happens, guys. You don't need all these compressors, all these crazy fix-it tools. It is about the blend. That's the art that's lost, okay? If you pull it down and pull it back up again, you're gonna get a different feel. We would do that 10 times, and there's always that magic moment where your pinky may accidentally hit the low end, and all of a sudden, whoa, the track's amazing, print it. That doesn't happen when you're locked into, I mean, look, I've got automation, I mean, yeah, but once this is printed, you know, the magic happens on the console, and it happens fast. So stay tuned, guys. We are getting ready to mix both of these tracks. We actually are slated for another track that we're about to release. Just so you know, Sirocco is about to come out September 6th with me and Mariner. Misty didn't make it on that one. She was busy at the time, but she's still on the record. It's awesome. Anyway, we will be filming in the mixdown process of Rock the Bells before we hand it to the label, so you guys can kind of be with us the whole process. So stay tuned and enjoy it, man. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you learned something. I'll play the track for you for a little bit. Guys, I am going to bed. I gotta work tomorrow and just get some stuff done. We'll see you in the next round, part 3.